is the World Report of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, October 2016. Coming up, it's been one of the most robust seasons of temple dedications, cultural events, and announcements in years. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Sapporo, Japan, to Freiburg, Germany, and Fort Collins, Colorado, we'll take you to every ray of sunshine that followed them all.
What a sound. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir returns to Europe for the first time in decades, and you should hear the crescendo of reaction from their groundbreaking tour.
And I think it's about time we came back here.
Und es wurde auch Zeit, dass wir wiederkommen.
The cause of religious freedom marches on. The audiences who gather may differ, but the impact of its message is strengthening.
For the children, their lives at risk in ways few could imagine, until an entertainment executive saw their plight and changed his life to save theirs. Now, he's partnered with church missionaries in this miraculous outreach.
But first, nations in conflict leave a wake of heavy hearts ready to be healed.
People are really in desperate condition in order to risk their life in such conditions.
In our special expanded coverage, witness the outreach of lives lifted as Latter-day Saints, their leaders, and friends of the church have an answer to the refugee crisis in Europe and the United States. People going hungry continues to be a major global problem. The United Nations organization charged with helping those without food says nearly 800 million, or 1 out of every 9 people, goes hungry every day. President Dieter F. Uchtdorf took time in July to show the church is committed to alleviating suffering in all its forms, including hunger.
People are hungry. They have no work, they don't have no food, and this program of the United Nations helped them to feed the poor and the needy at this time.
In a private meeting in Rome, Italy, President Uchtdorf presented a check from the church to the World Food Program for $3 million. The donations are being used to provide food to refugees and displaced persons in Cameroon, Chad, and Syria. Many without a home, some without a country.
The World Food Program is focusing on helping the poor and the needy worldwide. We have more than 60 million refugees worldwide. These are in-country displaced persons. These are people who leave the country, go somewhere else. And what causes it when they come to different countries or different places is creating hunger.
This is the 3rd year in a row LDS Charities has partnered with the world's largest humanitarian agency to fight hunger. With this donation, LDS Charities is now recognized as a global humanitarian partner, the highest level for private sector and non-governmental donors. This financial assistance is made possible because of the faithful donations of church members.
They are very grateful for the help of the church. They realize that our 15 million plus members around the world, through their donations individually, help the poor and the needy worldwide.
In March, the church reissued the call to come to the aid of refugees.
If we look at the individual need and always think about the love we need to extend, the compassion we need to show, the kindness we need to offer, regardless of religion, of background, I know that in my personal life, that helped me more than anything else. And I also know that those who help will be blessed from above, and it will be blessed from within, because you feel that you're doing Christ's work.
Before leaving Europe, President Uchtdorf visited 2 refugee sites near Athens, Greece, sharing his love for the residents and also observing the ongoing work of church partners, Catholic Relief Services, and International Rescue Committee in that part of the world.
On a calm Sunday evening, 150 refugees from Africa arrive into the port of Catania on the island of Sicily in the Mediterranean. It's the primary entry point into Europe for refugees fleeing North and West Africa.
It's a very risky journey. Indeed, that's since the beginning of the year, nearly 3,000 people have died or gone missing.
The serenity of the port, a stark contrast to the commotion on the high seas. On this rescue, most are from Nigeria, but Mali, Congo, Gambia, and Sierra Leone are also represented. A third are women, some are expecting a child, and 32 are children, most without parents. They all made the voyage from Libya on a less than seaworthy raft like this one.
You can say that the central Mediterranean is a very risky route. Indeed, 1 in 23 people will not make it. So these people are really in desperate condition in order to risk their life in such condition.
They finished the 300-mile trip packed inside this German vessel. Relief organizations such as Caritas is here. So too is the Red Cross to help in the transition. Scenes like these repeat themselves multiple times each week. 600 refugees arrived in July, 800 more in August. Forced from their homes, most migrants are just looking to stay alive. Food, water, and a place to sleep. If they're fortunate, they'll find people like Flavio Kahlo.
I work for Madu, is Doctor for Human Rights.
She and her team provide psychological support for displaced people in Italy. Their empathy and compassion is critical as they hear and retell stories of lives turned upside down.
I saw my wife dead. I saw the housebound of my sister dead. I saw that every people around me dead. I'm here, I'm survivor.
Madu's team of psychologists step in to calm racing hearts. In a converted convent, refugees find a place to call home. 43-year-old Teslim Williams found his way here from Sierra Leone. Supported by a Madu psychologist and cultural mediator, he describes abuse, assault, and being shot and kidnapped before fleeing Libya.
I've been kidnapped, 2 times in Sabah, yeah. The man said that I should pay him. I spent there 3 months, and by the time, I was on hard labor, without no food.
Sit down, stay calm. I say everybody, stay down, stay calm.
He crossed the sea early in 2014 at a financial cost of about $600 US. He lives here with 70 others in similar circumstances. Teslim was forced to leave behind more than a political regime and Ebola. His wife resides in Gambia, and together they have 5 children, ages 18 down to 4. Separation from family is one of the biggest day-to-day challenges.
If I have the opportunity for them to join me, even today, I would like them to join me. I like Italy because when I come, the Italians, they do take care of us, do everything for us normal, give us food and give us clothes to wear and prepare a good house for us. I like to stay in Italy.
For now, he has a job, is studying Italian, and has people he can rely on. Some stability from an extended period of vulnerability. Ever grateful for even the most basic of provisions, this work is supported by funds from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
You know that you have been successful when you see some improvements, when you see the person smiling.
In another part of Ragusa, another success story.
Okay.
Isaac fled the war in Ivory Coast. He was just 18 years old. He's been in Sicily for 5 years now, speaks Sicilian, and he has a job.
Martedì, mercredì, giovedì, venerdì, sabato, domenica, lunedì, giorno riposo. I'm entering Italy. Everything is very difficult, but now, by the grace of God, everything is okay.
Madu is doing a great work here, but this is only the beginning.
The people survive the trauma and also sexual abuse and inhuman and degrading treatment. They have not only the consequence on body, but they are in the heart and also in the mind.
In 2015, 153,000 refugees arrived on the shores of Italy. As of July, more than 77,000 more have joined their ranks, including an increase in children without parents or family.
They go to specific center, but there are not enough spaces at the moment. If you think from the beginning of the year till now, there's been more than 10,000 unaccompanied minors arriving to Italy. And of course, the capacity, the reception capacity and the staff available for them is really stretched.
Forget about schooling or proper health care and hygiene. These families are just hoping to survive a treacherous journey at sea, avoid shipwreck and smugglers, and ultimately reunite as a family.
In the outer parts of Rome, the church is using a portion of its financial donation to assist with getting care to refugees. This medical unit is meeting many of the medical needs right where they are.
These are people, migrants in transit. So their only option to receive health support is by the mobile clinic.
We see a lot of infections, skin infections most of all, and also respiratory infections, because usually the people who come for visits are people who live in difficulty.
Our organization developed project thanks to the support of private citizens, foundations, and charities. And the most important part of this project is managed thanks to the support and donation by the Mormon Church.
Coming up, in Ghana, the spirit of self-reliance is building a better future for many as they show us what can happen when determination and belief set the course for better days ahead.
At the edge of the historic market town of Windsor, England, is its most legendary landmark, the famed Windsor Castle. While it has been the family home of British royalty for more than 900 years, it also played host to a religious conference in mid-September, where Elder Jeffrey R. Holland of the 12 offered insights to the plight of refugees and noted the similarities between their struggle and those of Latter-day Saints in the early days of the church.
I invited Elder Holland here because I was very, very keen indeed that he should disclose the Mormon experience of success.
Elder Holland gave a very succinct history of the Mormon experience, the way the church was persecuted, had to find its own identity, work with others outside of its fold, and has become mainline to modern society.
Whenever possible, we should facilitate and perpetuate the unique identities of refugees and highlight stories from their past. My people's identity and faith carried them through decades of crisis. They did not call themselves refugees, but became known as, in their case, pioneers.
When he was talking about persecution, the thing that particularly struck me was how he spoke about your early people who, in the experience of persecution, were able to see themselves as pioneers. It was about speaking of resilience and courage and positive direction.
There are many lessons to be learned from the talk of Elder Holland this morning. First of all is how to react to the suppression or to the displacement or to the persecution, to react with a message of sympathy and love.
We certainly don't presume to make our story in the 19th century sound as atrocious or as vile or as villainous as the experiences that we're experiencing in the world today.
He forgave me for that. We're going to crack this unspeakable problem of religious persecution and its aftermath of forced migration.
I just see this as a piercing thing to go out and to break this open. And
well, the Mormons, you see, have the success story. That's one of the great things that you're able to deliver. Quite apart from everything else, you can actually tell us the one big story that worked.
With time and heaven on our side and good people doing good things, we can be very hopeful.
What do you get to decide for me or for some other group of people?
The church has produced a new video series called Everyday Example, When Beliefs Are Questioned. It dramatizes what can happen when people seek to understand and respect each other's views and when they don't.
I have my beliefs and you have your beliefs. Yeah, but Samantha, you're trying to tell me what I should believe.
You can find the videos among a host of other useful materials on lds.org/religious freedom. The series is part of a broader effort by the church to encourage its members to stand up for religious freedom for themselves and for their neighbors, even amidst differing views.
Because it's fair.
It's with that topic in mind that Elder Dallin H. Oakes of the 12 and other church leaders expounded on this message at the Dallas-Fort Worth Regional Religious Freedom Conference, September 10.
Those that relate to private and ecclesiastical contexts or are part of the rights of all citizens are the most basic and least subject to compromise.
Our main message is that we should all cease fire in the culture wars and join in efforts to achieve fairness for all. In our pluralistic society, all must learn to live peacefully with laws, institutions, and persons who do not share their basic values.
Se nos ha perdido nuestras cosas, nuestras paredes de la casa se han caído.
This Ecuadorian woman speaks of her family's home and possessions, and at the same time reflects the message of thousands of Ecuadorians who lost everything in a 7.8 magnitude quake that shook the South American nation to its core on April 16th. Bishop W. Christopher Waddell of the presiding bishopric and former leader in Latin America for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints arrived within days of the quake, as well as a number of other additional church leaders who quickly descended on the region to see to the needs of all who were impacted and help direct the relief efforts of the church. With so many toppled homes and buildings, church meeting houses that withstood the disaster well are now a temporary refuge providing food, medical care, and shelter to accommodate anyone in need.
It was humbling to meet with these people many who have lost so much. It was a remarkable experience to see their desire to help others.
This emergency has brought us together as a nation to know that we're working toward the same objective.
Local Latter-day Saint leaders say they feel encouraged and strengthened by the outreach they've seen come to their aid by Bishop Waddell and other church leaders, giving them hope their communities will soon heal.
Su palabra de consuelo y de aliento nos permiten.
His words of comfort and support allow us to see that the future is bright and promising.
Es prometedor.
It's about determination, but first of all, you have to exercise faith in God.
Latter-day Saints in Accra, Ghana are leading the way in forging their own economic freedom and in growing numbers. More than 8,000 people are utilizing the principles of self-reliance in the Africa West area and harnessing the work and employment opportunities that have been established and patterned after the Perpetual Education Fund sponsored by the church.
Self-reliance actually is the essence of the gospel itself.
Funded by church member donations, self-reliance centers are places where people can access resources to acquire new vocational skills to help secure a job, start a small business, and learn more about personal and family finance.
It's like you're climbing a ladder. If you don't have faith, you cannot achieve what you want to achieve.
Empowered by the combined principles of education, job awareness, and self-employment, Stanley Malfo has launched a business in construction and renovation. Half of his employees have become self-reliant by the example he sets and the work he achieves.
Problems may come, but if you have faith in your Heavenly Father, you'll be able to get where you want to get to.
Dorothy Amon lost a child to illness and was equally troubled by her time away from her other children working in a restaurant.
Everybody was invited, so I decided to give it a try.
Through the opportunities and counsel shared at a Ghana Self-Reliance Center, Dorothy now operates her own business from home and can care and manage the needs of her children better than before.
I'm happy because I tell them, this money comes from this.
I'm highly optimistic
I'm optimistic in the sense that the people themselves have faith in what they're doing, and they have faith in our Heavenly Father and His Son Jesus Christ, and they know that Heavenly Father is the provider. So if Heavenly Father tells them this is what to do to get to the next level, they will not doubt that, and then they will be able to help themselves.
Straight ahead, this southern state in the U.S. is no stranger to nature's dangerous upheaval. And that's just one reason why Latter-day Saint volunteers can't look the other way in times of distress.
I've never seen it get more than half full. But this time it went over the bank.
Put our luggage, and the dog, and a few other things in our canoe.
The house got totally inundated.
It was a river, and I had to move out that Saturday morning in a boat.
It was unpredictable, unprecedented, and unimaginable, even for southeast Louisiana. Within hours, the skies opened up and record flooding began. It hit without wind, and its intensity came with little warning. In a matter of hours, in mid-August, many regions in the greater Baton Rouge area received an astonishing 20 to 30 inches of rain. Miraculously, the loss of life was low, in the teens, but the damage and threat to life is staggering. As quickly as the rain descended, the resolve to recover began. Help was on the way. The masses of people wanting to pitch in started streaming in to offer relief and hope from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That assistance came in the form of helping hands, as thousands of volunteers from along the Gulf Coast region rallied together.
Their homes been inundated by a flood. We're going to remove at least 4 feet of sheetrock. We're going to gut out their houses.
So what we do is we come out with essentially a crew, anywhere from 8 to 20 individuals together will come into a home, and as you can see with the all of the furniture and drywall and everything that's ripped out of these homes, we will go in and we will assess very, very quickly how much needs to be done, and then we just quickly make assignments to everybody on the crew.
It's good to get some younger guys than me up there with a chainsaw.
Yes,
that's for sure.
yes.
All right.
How you
Friends are doing it here.
They doing wonderful. I mean, they're knocking it out.
I've been pretty much doing it by myself, and I just felt that I just prayed. Then I looked, and behold, here come a gentleman in a yellow shirt. And lo and behold, to the very second, he came back with, I don't know how many of them, but it was 10, 15, 20, 30 of them, and they did a tremendous job in helping me. And God bless each and every one of them. Man, y'all be good, man. Thank y'all so much.
Maybe this was the Lord. Maybe this is the Lord.
It's hard because we walk into these homes and it's the individuals that we're dealing with. We're dealing one-on-one.
When I saw all the stuff come out, that's all little by little we got that all my life. But when I saw that all the pictures have their memory, their little picture, I cannot control myself, no. That's so sad, you know.
Rebuilding, I'm 67 years old, you know, it's frightful to think about it, to start all over.
Go to street.
I can't tell you how much it means to see all this done. Save weeks worth of work.
Coming out to opportunities like this and being able to help individuals that are going through what they're going through allows me to become a true servant of my Savior. And I can give just a little bit to an individual here in Baton Rouge that I've never met before, that I don't know personally, but that I have a kinship to and a closeness to because of their suffering and my ability to lessen their suffering.
I'm saying y'all been a blessing.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, glad to be here.
Yes, ma'am. I mean a blessing.
To have help like this is something unheard of. You know, this is people helping people, and this is God doing God's work.
1 week later, the work continues in southeast Louisiana. Volunteers returned once again to offer up their service, and this time, doing so with a host of church leaders, like Sister Neil F. Marriott, who was born and raised in Louisiana.
That's what matters.
This place is devastated, but the people really aren't devastated. We love them. There's hope that we can rebuild.
Here we are, brothers and sisters helping each other in different faiths, but helping each other out of a very difficult circumstance.
The Lord said the great commandments are to love God, and the other is to love your neighbors yourself. And we're awfully good about talking about it, but here you really see that in action. These people are really loving their neighbors.
A special treat is coming up, the universal language of love and worship, spoken by the voices of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir on their European tour.
When we experience great music in great spaces, it makes for a great experience, not only for the audience, but for the performer as well.
The Mormon Tabernacle Choir and Orchestra at Temple Square has crossed the Atlantic for the first time in decades.
The last time, the only time, the Tabernacle Choir has come to Frankfurt was in 1991. And I think it's about time we came back here.
Und es wurde auch Zeit, dass wir wiederkommen.
This whirlwind tour with a lot of moving parts made 7 stops in Western Europe in a high-demand schedule from June 29th through July 13th. It brought back home to Europe much of the music that was created there by luminaries of an earlier age.
We did want to give an emphasis to the master composers, because after all, this part of the world, of course, is where much of this music originated.
One of the most wonderful things to observe is those who have come who have been entirely unfamiliar with the choir, and then watching them in the concerts react to not just the music and the scale of the choir and the orchestra, but to what happens to them, those feelings that they can't explain. And that's been glorious to observe.
As a European, I feel very, very proud of the choir. It builds bridges to all religions, to all communities. They're ambassadors for this great cause of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The overall experience that the choir was having was going to be influenced by the places that we chose to perform, as well as the places we allowed them to visit or encouraged them to see. And for many of the choir members, it was an opportunity to go home, to see extended family members they haven't seen or interacted with.
I am from Frankfurt, Germany. My family lives about 15 kilometers north in a little town called Karben, and that's where I grew up. The reason I want to do music is because I think it's the most wonderful form to praise the Lord, to sing. And I believe that when people sing of Christ, if one person speaks of Christ, that's powerful, but when people sing together of Christ, that is magical and powerful beyond measures.
Before the tour came to a close, the choir created once again this beloved iconic photo taken in front of the Eiffel Tower in 1955. As you can see, their numbers have remained a constant. But there wasn't much time to unwind at the close of the tour. The Pioneer Day concert back in Salt Lake City was right around the corner, headlining with the King Singers, returning to the conference center from their home in Great Britain.
Listen to the happy sound. Pedals blowing, oh He'll take the high road and I take the low road.
The technique and the skill of the people who were using the technology to capture our sound, and if you listen to the disc, it sounds very much like any other King Singer sound. I don't know how they did it, because we were just singing with microphones into this barn of a place, but yet it felt incredibly intimate.
I mean, it's so fantastic being here.
When we come back, hands of faith are clasped from every walk of life to affirm and celebrate our newest temples around the world.
I'd like to announce 4 new temples, which in coming months and years will be built in the following locations.
President Thomas S. Monson announcing to a worldwide audience during General Conference in April that the church will build 4 new temples around the globe. Crossing the Atlantic, we begin on the continent of Africa and to the site of what will be the Harar, Zimbabwe Temple. Almost 28,000 Latter-day Saints make their home in Zimbabwe, a nation of more than 14 million people. This will be the 7th temple to be built in Africa and the first in Zimbabwe. Back to the Western Hemisphere and to the coming site of the Quito, Ecuador Temple. Over 250,000 members of the church reside in Ecuador. The temple in Quito will be the 2nd in the nation, after its first in Guayaquil. In neighboring Peru, Lima will have a 2nd temple built in this capital city. There are more than 500,000 Latter-day Saints living in the country. The Lima, Peru, Los Olivos Temple is anticipated to be located in the northern section of the city.
And moving to the site of what will be the Belém, Brazil Temple, this will be the 9th temple of the church in Brazil, home to 1.3 million Latter-day Saints in a country of 205 million people. Heading to the Rockies of North America to the Fort Collins, Colorado Temple. A public open house was held in August and September for a host of Colorado residents and other guests, both Latter-day Saints and friends of the church, along with local media. More than 20,000 people toured the interior of the temple in Fort Collins during the 3-week open house, a standard practice of the church worldwide whenever a new temple is completed and before it's formally dedicated. The Fort Collins, Colorado Temple will be dedicated in 3 sessions the 16th of October.
Across the Pacific Ocean to the island of Japan, the Sapporo, Japan Temple was dedicated on Sunday, August 21st. President Russell M. Nelson and Elder Gary E. Stevenson, both of the 12, took part in the cornerstone ceremony, which is one of the highlights of a temple dedication. The night before the dedication, Latter-day Saints and their friends gathered for the traditional cultural event held at a nearby auditorium, highlighting Japan's rich history and culture and the growth of the church in Japan. The Sapporo, Japan Temple occupies some 9 acres of grounds that feature fountains, ponds, and gardens, so fitting for its Japanese setting. The grounds are open to the public in all 4 seasons for people to stroll about the beautiful walking paths.
From the Far East, across the Pacific, and all the way over the Atlantic to Europe and to the Freiburg, Germany Temple, President Dieter F. Uchtdorf conducted rededication sessions of the temple on September 4th. This is the temple's 2nd renovation after previous renovations and expansion were completed in 2002. Most recently, the temple had been undergoing a new round of renovations for more than a year. The Freiburg Temple was originally dedicated in 1985. It was the first temple to be built on German soil. The temple is located in the northwest section of historic Freiburg, a pastoral setting in modern times, and with its neighboring city that has much of the old world feel of an earlier era in Germany. Heading to North America and near the Rocky Mountains of the West, the dedication of the Meridian, Idaho Temple is still more than a year away, but it has a beautiful finishing touch already. The statue of the Angel Moroni was installed atop its domed center July 20th, 1 year to the day after Elder David A. Bednar of the 12 led groundbreaking ceremonies. The city is adjacent to Boise's western suburbs. When dedicated, the Meridian, Idaho Temple will be the 5th operating temple in that state.
And now to the northeastern United States, America's 5th largest metropolis and the birthplace of the nation itself. citizens of Philadelphia now have a Latter-day Saint temple to add to the storied history of their revered city, also known as the City of Brotherly Love. Its location on Vine Street, just north of downtown, is adjacent to another house of worship, Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul, and less than 2 miles from Independence Hall, the historic location of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, which is depicted in a painting that graces the main lobby of the temple. Inside the temple, other historic references in painting also recall the early days of the church, like the baptism of the prophet Joseph Smith in the Susquehanna River in Harmony, Pennsylvania, which overlooks the temple's baptismal font during the period when Joseph translated the Book of Mormon. It's the first LDS temple built in Pennsylvania, and people were ready to celebrate in the traditional cultural event at the city's Liacouras Center.
In this nation unto God.
Today, millions of people benefit from the protection of religious freedom.
The following day, Henry B. Eyring of the First Presidency led 3 dedicatory sessions of the temple. But first, greeting all who came to witness the public ceremony of securing the cornerstone that morning.
To me, this is especially significant that the Lord would have granted this house to you wonderful people.
These scouts took the high road of service and honor, as Elder Holland of the 12 reminds us all that duty to God is much the same, a journey of commitment over time. This story and so much more in the news.
On a mild August morning, President Thomas S. Monson arrived at the former LDS Business College in Salt Lake City for a very unique ceremony and unveiling. The 135-year-old renovated building is now the Thomas S. Monson Center. The church had given the building to the University of Utah in 2014, which began a multi-year renovation with the assistance of several donors. Attended by the First Presidency and members of the 12, several speakers described the vision of the center aligning with the very character of President Monson's lifelong example of service and outreach to people from every walk of life.
The idea of his name being attached to something that's going to have an outreach to the community, which he cares so much about. And then, of course, larger the state and then the world. I think that thrilled me.
The new center that carries his name will be the home for public policy research, focusing on education and infrastructure planning, and as a place where scholars and community leaders can meet together.
It's never too early in the day to rally the Boy Scouts of America to their highest ideals. At its annual national meeting and breakfast in San Diego, California in May, Elder Jeffrey R. Holland of the 12 was the keynote speaker on the unifying Scout virtue of duty to God.
There's no box that one can check to indicate that he has now fully and completely succeeded in his duty to God. It is who we are, or perhaps more accurately stated, it is who we are becoming.
During a portion of his remarks, Elder Holland congratulated the group of scouts who embodied the very best of scouting ideals, caring for a fellow scout with a disability as they all hiked through wilderness areas together. 1 month later, in June, the scouting journey and the church marked a major milestone in a special groundbreaking ceremony held at the Summit Betchel Reserve in West Virginia. Construction is now underway on the new Thomas S. Monson Leadership Excellence Complex. The event was attended by Elder Holland and Elder D. Todd Christofferson, also of the 12, and other church leaders. The multi-building complex honors President Monson's lifelong contributions to scouting.
A focused effort and the blessings of volunteers has brought remarkable results for Family Search, the church-sponsored genealogy website. A project to index the records of freed African-American slaves derived from the Freedmen's Bureau and Bank record was completed this past June, 1 year after getting started. Thousands of volunteers across the country further uncovered the names of 1.8 million people emancipated from slavery who were listed in the Freedmen's Bureau, which belongs to the National Archives and Records Administration. In Washington, D.C., a permanent exhibit of the genealogy work sponsored by the church will be on display starting in December inside the newly constructed National Museum of African American History and Culture at the Smithsonian Institution. In Southeast Asia, the government of Vietnam has granted official recognition to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Elder Quentin L. Cook and Elder Gary E. Stevenson, both of the 12, along with government leaders and friends of the church, took part in an historic ceremony in the city of Hanoi, May 31st. During the event, Elder Cook remarked on the blessings pronounced on the country and people of Vietnam by church leaders many years before, and the realization of those blessings today.
The Joseph Smith Papers Initiative continues to offer insight into the early days of the church through books and documents printed and released to the public. The latest release are the notes of the meetings held by the Council of 50, a group composed of early church leaders and a few non-members in the days of the church in 1800s Nauvoo, Illinois. It has been long speculated that the notes might contain doctrinal aspects of the church. The public release actually details the Council of 50 discussing other possible settlements in the Western Territories, such as Oregon and Texas, wherein a theocratic form of government might be established by the church. All this before the exodus from Nauvoo and the Mormon pioneers' arrival in the Valley of the Great Salt Lake. Stay with us and see the evidence of outreach of those who care, knowing no boundaries, when we come right back. It's a place known for an unlikely name, Trash Mountain. These dwellings in this Cambodian village are actually built on top of a landfill.
We're standing right in the middle of an area called the Prectoil Village.
And it's where a partnership has emerged between Latter-day Saint missionaries with LDS Charities who serve here and an established Australian man of goodwill who saw suffering and stepped away from his life as an entertainment executive to transform an impoverished village, one child or family at a time, and established his own charitable cause, the Cambodian Children's Fund.
It was a simple thing of a girl who was 9 years old, never been to school. Her younger sister was dying of typhoid. Within an hour, we had a house, we had a plan for the girl to get to school. The youngest girl was in hospital. And you realise if you can do that for one child, what can you do for the next one?
The project between LDS Charities and Scott Neeson Special Outreach has built clean water lines, raised new homes above the floodplain, delivered hundreds of wheelchairs, and established immunization programs.
When we first started this project, it was a swamp and there was a sewer running through the middle of it.
Within a few years, there's been a remarkable measure of progress, with built-in incentives to help families meet their needs for food and encourage their children to attend school and develop through literacy programs.
It's hard to describe the contentment when you see a child and you remember when you first set eyes upon them, the conditions they're living in. Then you see them and they're now leaders. They're running community programs, they're looking after grandmothers, they're serving food in their own communities. You can see this whole thing building.
These families are really grateful for what we've done for them. They talk to us, they befriend us in all kinds of different ways.
And the work continues. The partnership has also built a training bakery for food and job skills and established a dental clinic. The next big project, to construct 200 new homes.
Both Latter-day Saints and Cambodian Children's Fund have got the same goals, and there's no hidden agendas. It's just what's doing best for the community. What the community needs, what the children need, what the family needs. It's the only goal, and that makes for a good partnership.
This has been the World Report of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, October 2016.
To watch the World Report online, log on to MormonNewsroom.org.